Lara stepped lightly into the grand hall of the alien spaceship, her uniform crisp, her eyes scanning every corner. She had trained for this moment for years, but nothing could prepare her for the sheer beauty of the place. Smooth metallic walls reflected soft light. Strange alien sculptures seemed to move when she blinked, and a faint hum vibrated through the floor beneath her feet. She held her head high, her posture perfect. As the other crew members barely glanced at her, they were used to humans on their ship. But she was not just any human, she was a spy, sent on a dangerous mission, to either seduce the alien prince or eliminate him to stop a galactic war. The instructions were clear, but the risk was extreme. One wrong move and her life would end before the mission even began. The alien prince had a reputation across the galaxy. Calm, intelligent, and deadly when threatened. No one had ever approached him without fear. Yet Lara had to walk into his world disguised as a maid, blending in while watching every detail, every glance. Every movement could be a clue or a trap. She carried a small tray with alien delicacies, her hands steady but her heart raced. The crew whispered among themselves in a language she only partially understood. Yet their expressions told her everything she needed to know. Suspicion, pride, loyalty, fear, all mixed together like colors in a strange painting. Then she saw him, the alien prince, tall and regal, standing near a window that showed the endless stars outside. His eyes were sharp, observing, but unreadable. For a moment, Lara froze, feeling the weight of countless eyes on her. Yet no one had warned her about the effect he could have. A strange pull like gravity tugging at her thoughts. She remembered her orders. Stay calm, observe, and do not let him know your true purpose. Yet instinct made her glance at him more than once. Not out of curiosity, but out of caution. She needed to understand him before she acted. Suddenly, a whisper behind her made her stiffen. A human agent, someone from her own command, hid in the shadows, watching her as closely as she watched the aliens. Lara realized that her mission was more complicated than she thought. Betrayal could come from either side, and trust was a dangerous word. As she moved deeper into the ship, she noticed the subtle differences. Alien servants moved with perfect synchronization, their eyes never meeting hers. Doors opened without touch, and lights responded to presence. Technology and elegance were fused in every corner. Her first task was simple: clean the prince's private quarters and report any unusual activity. Yet simple tasks were always the most dangerous. She had to memorize the layout, avoid traps, and maintain her disguise perfectly. One slip and the wrong person would know she was more than a maid. A sudden noise made her heart jump. A small drone hovered silently above, scanning the room. Lara's hand instinctively reached for the concealed device at her waist. She activated it quietly, sending a pulse that disabled the drone temporarily. Her breathing slowed and she reminded herself, focus, stay calm, act normal. Minutes passed like hours. Each step she took, each movement she made was a test of skill and nerve. The alien prince entered the room silently, as if he had sensed her presence all along. Lara froze for a second, then smiled politely, offering him a tray of exotic fruit. His eyes studied her carefully, and she felt like he could see through her disguise. Yet instead of anger, he showed curiosity. A small smile touched his lips, subtle but noticeable. Lara felt a flicker of doubt. Was he testing her? Or was there something more in his gaze? She reminded herself of her mission. The galaxy depended on her choices. But a new question grew in her mind. Could she complete this mission without becoming someone she no longer recognized? Could she follow orders when the truth of the prince and his household seemed so different from the warning she had received? As she left the room, she felt the weight of countless decisions ahead. Every choice would have consequences far beyond her imagination. She had walked into a world of beauty, danger, and secrets, and the first hour had already shown her that nothing was as simple as it seemed. And somewhere deep inside, Lara knew one thing clearly. She was no longer just a spy or a maid. She had become part of a story much larger than herself. A story of trust, betrayal, and perhaps something far worse or far more powerful than love. Lara moved quietly through the long corridors of the alien ship, her steps almost silent on the smooth metal floor. The hum of the engines vibrated softly beneath her, a constant reminder that she was deep in enemy territory. Yet these were not enemies in the usual sense. They were creatures of intelligence, grace, and danger, each of them watching. Calculating, always aware, she passed the dining hall, where alien servants moved with precise grace, their movements synchronized like dancers. The prince was not there, yet his presence lingered in the room, a quiet authority that made every creature pause. Lara felt the weight of his eyes even when he was absent. Her daily routine was simple on the surface: clean, organize, and report. Yet behind every task lay 100 secrets. She discovered small notes, hidden devices, and strange symbols etched on walls. Each detail could mean life or death if misread. She tucked the notes into her sleeve, pretending they were part of her duties. But her mind raced with possibilities. At night, when the household was quiet, Lara explored deeper. Slipping past corridors and sealed doors, she had learned to avoid the security drones, using her tools to disable them silently. One evening, she discovered a hidden room filled with holographic maps, glowing softly in the dim light. The maps showed star systems, fleets, and secret bases, some of them marked with human symbols, others alien. Lara's heart raced. She realized that her mission was bigger than she thought. The galaxy itself was at stake, and she had been sent to a war she barely understood. Her orders had been simple: seduce or kill, yet the truth was far more complicated. The aliens she had been taught to fear seemed organized, careful but not cruel. She noticed small acts of kindness from the servants: a robot bringing water to a tired alien, a maid cleaning without being asked. Their loyalty was not blind, but earned, and that impressed her. Lara felt an unexpected respect for them, something she had never considered about enemies. The prince's behavior added to her confusion. He moved through the halls with calm authority, yet he spoke softly to those around him, laughing quietly with servants, checking on them as if their well-being mattered. Lara had expected cruelty, arrogance, or coldness, yet here was patience, dignity, and care, all of it confusing her, blurring the lines between mission and morality. One night, she overheard a conversation in a hidden chamber, aliens discussing a plot that threatened not only their world, but human colonies as well. Lara's mind struggled to connect the dots. Could her own command have misled her, painting these aliens as enemies when they were trying to prevent disaster? She clenched her fists, realizing that she might have to betray the very humans who sent her. At the same time, she discovered an ally, a small alien companion no bigger than a cat, with shining eyes and soft fur. It watched her curiously but did not flee. Instead, it followed her, silently offering companionship. Lara whispered to it, sharing small secrets, and found herself calming for the first time in days. The alien seemed to trust her, and that trust weighed heavily on her conscience. Days passed and Lara's skill grew. She learned to navigate the ship like a shadow, to read gestures and subtle glances. Every movement she made could be observed, and she observed in return. She began writing detailed reports for herself, not for her commanders, keeping her own record of what was truly happening. Then came the moment that changed everything. A small explosion rocked one of the lower decks. Alarms blaring as servants ran to contain the damage. Lara acted instinctively, using her training to guide frightened aliens to safety. Her actions saved several lives, including a young alien child she had seen only once. The prince appeared suddenly. Assessing the situation, Lara expected anger, reprimand, or suspicion, yet he nodded to her quietly, a sign of respect that stunned her. She had saved lives without revealing her true purpose, and he had noticed. This subtle approval planted a seed of something unexpected, a hint of trust that could change everything. That night she reflected on her mission. Her orders and her feelings, seduce or kill, had seemed simple, but now she faced choices that no command had prepared her for. Loyalty, morality, love, duty, all tangled together in shadows and secrets. She realized that completing the mission might mean betraying everything she believed in. And yet, despite the confusion, she felt alive, sharper, more human than ever before. The galaxy's fate rested on her decisions, and she understood that even a single choice could tip the balance. Lara closed her eyes for a moment, knowing that tomorrow would bring challenges that would test her courage, her heart, and her understanding of what it truly meant to be human. The soft glow of the spaceship lights guided Lara through the long corridors, her steps careful, silent, yet deliberate. She had grown used to the rhythms of the alien household, the subtle pauses and gestures of the crew, and the ever-watchful eyes of the prince. Yet tonight felt different, a tension she could not explain, a whisper of danger in the air. Lara had begun to notice details she had ignored before, small habits of the prince that showed a gentle mind beneath his regal exterior. The way he paused to watch the stars from the observation deck, The quiet way he adjusted a fallen item for a servant, the soft patience in his voice when speaking to the young aliens in the household. Each small act chipped away at the cold image she had been taught to expect. Her curiosity was dangerous yet irresistible. She found herself lingering in corners, observing the prince from a distance, never letting him know. There was something almost human in his loneliness, a yearning that spoke to her own hidden desires. But every glance, every step closer risked exposure, and failure would be fatal. In one of the hidden chambers, Lara discovered a small group of aliens huddled over strange devices. Whispering urgently, their voices were melodic, almost musical yet filled with tension. She crouched behind a panel, straining to understand, and realized they were planning defensive strategies, not attacks. They feared a threat from an outside force, not her presence, and their concern was real, tangible and honest. The realization struck her sharply. Lara had been trained to see enemies everywhere, to follow orders without question, to view alien intelligence as a threat. But here she saw care, protection, and love for their own, even in the smallest acts. A pang of doubt hit her heart, questioning her mission, her loyalty, and the meaning of obedience. The small alien companion that had followed her earlier appeared quietly, brushing against her legs, a gentle reassurance. Lara knelt and whispered softly, feeling a strange connection to this creature, as if it understood her inner conflict. She realized that trust could exist even across species, and that bond became a shield against fear. Later, she observed the prince in a private chamber, a rare moment when he believed no one watched. He was writing messages, perhaps to distant worlds, his face serious, yet his hands moved with care and precision. Lara felt her pulse quicken, forbidden curiosity pulling her closer. She wanted to know his thoughts, his fears, his dreams, but every second brought danger. Suddenly, an intruder entered. Moving stealthily through the same corridor she had been watching, Lara recognized the signs instantly. Trained instincts kicking in, someone was spying. Perhaps from her own human command, perhaps another alien faction. Either way, the threat was real, and action was required. Without hesitation, Lara followed, using shadows as her cover. Her pulse raced, yet her mind was sharp. She needed to protect the prince and the household from this hidden danger. She intercepted the intruder silently, a flash of skill and precision disarming the threat before it could raise alarms. The intruder fled into the shadows, leaving Lara with a heightened sense of urgency. That night she sat in the observation deck, looking at the stars, thinking of the intruder, the prince, and the secrets she had uncovered. Every choice weighed heavily, and she understood that curiosity was not just dangerous, it was transformative. She realized that observing, learning, and questioning could change the course of her mission, and perhaps even the fate of the galaxy. Her thoughts returned to the prince, the subtle kindness he had shown, the gentle humor, the quiet patience. Lara felt something she had not expected, a spark of connection that went beyond duty, beyond orders, a dangerous emotion she could not ignore, yet she knew that embracing it might cost her everything. Her mission, her life, and her identity. Still, she could not stop herself. She watched, she learned. She began to understand that love, trust, and empathy were not weaknesses, but weapons far stronger than any blade or hidden device. Lara's mind raced with possibilities. How could she protect him? How could she complete her mission without destroying the fragile bonds she had begun to see? And in that quiet moment, a realization hit her, something far worse than failure, something far more powerful than the mission itself. She was no longer a spy acting on orders. She was a participant in a story that stretched beyond her understanding, a story of hope, courage, and perhaps forbidden love. As the night deepened, Lara made a silent promise to herself, to protect the innocent, to navigate the shadows carefully, to follow curiosity where it led, even if it meant defying the humans who had sent her. Her heart was no longer free of conflict, but it was alive, aware and daring, ready to face whatever challenges awaited her in the days to come. Lara tiptoed through the quiet corridors of the alien ship, her heart pounding with both fear and excitement. Every shadow seemed to hold a secret. Every whisper of air could be a warning. She had learned to move like a ghost, blending with the soft hum of machinery and the occasional flicker of lights. The household seemed calmer at night, but danger still lingered. She paused at the corner of a hall and peeked through a translucent door, where she saw the alien prince alone. Staring at a small glowing device, his expression was unreadable, yet there was a softness in his eyes that no one else had ever shown. Lara felt an unfamiliar pull, a curiosity that went beyond duty. She wanted to understand him, to know what he thought, what he feared, and what made him human beneath the alien perfection. But curiosity was dangerous, forbidden even, because one wrong step could ruin everything. She remembered the small companion that had followed her before, its glowing eyes watching her silently. She reached down and touched it lightly, drawing comfort from its warmth. It was her only friend in this strange household, a reminder that trust could exist, even here in the shadows of an alien world. During her secret observations, she discovered a hidden room filled with delicate machinery and tiny holographic maps. Lara crouched carefully and studied the devices, realizing they were not weapons but tools to protect the ship and its people. They planned defenses, not attacks, and their work showed intelligence and care, not cruelty. This revelation shook her. She had been told the aliens were dangerous, merciless and cold, but now she saw a different truth. They were thoughtful, loyal to one another, and willing to sacrifice for those they loved. Lara began to question her own mission, wondering if seduction or assassination could ever be right. One evening she saw the prince again, this time outside the observation room, interacting with a young alien child. His gentle voice soothed the little one's fears, and his careful movements made Lara pause. He was patient, kind, and protective, traits she had never expected. Her heart stirred uncomfortably. Emotions she had no place for. Lara's mind raced. Torn between duty and empathy, she realized that her mission was no longer simple. The orders from her command felt wrong, and the truth of the aliens' intentions made her question everything she had been trained to believe. Suddenly she heard a faint sound behind her. A slight shift in the metal floor. She turned quickly, spotting a shadow moving stealthily along the corridor. An intruder, perhaps a spy from her own human command. Perhaps a rival alien. Lara's instinct screamed at her to act. She followed the intruder silently, careful not to reveal herself. Her heart pounded as she used her training to anticipate every movement. The intruder paused, unaware of her presence, and Lara realized that this small moment could have enormous consequences. She had to choose. Intervene now, or risk disaster later. With a swift, silent move, she disabled a small device the intruder carried, preventing an alarm from sounding. The shadow retreated and Lara exhaled quietly, knowing she had acted correctly, but also realizing that the mission had grown far more dangerous than anyone had told her. That night she returned to the observation deck, gazing at the endless stars, her mind tangled with thoughts of the prince, the household, and the intruder she had just stopped. Lara understood that curiosity was no longer just a habit. It was a necessity. It revealed truths, showed intentions, and uncovered secrets that orders could never explain. She thought of the prince, the subtle kindness he had shown to others, the way he carried himself with dignity. Yet vulnerability. Lara felt a dangerous spark inside her, something she could not ignore. A connection that went beyond duty, beyond mission. A fragile thread that hinted at something forbidden, something powerful, and yet she knew the risk. Every moment spent observing him, every second of her curiosity, brought danger to herself. The humans who sent her could turn against her, and the aliens might see her for what she truly was. Still, she could not stop. She realized that forbidden curiosity had awakened something stronger, something she could not control. Her choices would no longer be simple. Her path would twist in ways she could not predict, and the galaxy itself might hang on the decisions she made in the shadows. As she sat alone watching the stars, Lara made a silent promise to herself. She would protect the innocents, follow the clues wherever they led, and face the consequences of her curiosity. She had stepped beyond the role of spy or maid, and was now part of a story that demanded courage, heart, and daring choices. The ship was quiet again, but tension hung thick in the air. Lara moved through the corridors with practiced silence, her eyes constantly scanning for danger. Every glance, every sound could hide a threat. She had grown accustomed to living in the shadows, yet tonight felt heavier, as if the walls themselves were watching. The prince walked past her unexpectedly, carrying a small crate of supplies for the crew. His presence startled her, yet she did not flinch. She forced a polite smile, offering assistance, and he accepted with a nod, subtle but acknowledging. Lara felt a flicker of something she could not name, a connection she had tried to avoid. Her curiosity had grown stronger, but so had her doubts. Every small act of kindness from the prince confused her orders. Every gesture of care contradicted the mission she had been given. Lara realized that the line between duty and conscience had already been crossed, and there was no turning back. Earlier that day, she had discovered a hidden communication device. Its screen flashing faint messages. Lara read carefully, realizing that human operatives planned a sabotage to force the prince into war. The plan was cruel, designed to manipulate her mission and use her as a weapon. She clenched her fists, anger mixing with fear. Understanding now that she could not blindly obey, a sudden commotion drew her attention. Alarms flashing through the corridors. The sabotage had begun, a section of the ship shaking violently, crew and aliens scrambling to maintain order. Lara acted without hesitation, guiding frightened aliens away from danger, her training taking over. Each decision precise, saving lives with careful calculation. The prince appeared at the scene, assessing the damage with calm efficiency. He moved quickly to help those in need, yet there was no panic in his eyes. Only determination and care. Lara watched him, realizing that this man she had been sent to deceive possessed qualities she had never encountered in anyone else. Her emotions twisted. Lara found herself protecting him, not because of orders, but because she wanted to. Each choice she made now defied the mission, and each risk she took could cost her everything. Yet she could not stop herself. Her loyalty had shifted, crossing invisible lines, leaving her heart and conscience in conflict amid the chaos. The small alien companion she had befriended earlier darted between the injured and the frightened. Guiding them to safety, Lara followed its lead, saving a young alien child trapped under debris. Her heart raced as she lifted the child to safety, realizing that every life mattered more than her mission, more than the orders she had been given. The prince finally noticed her actions, his gaze sharp but approving. Lara felt a rush of both fear and relief. He did not ask why she was there, or question her presence. Instead, he simply nodded, silently acknowledging her courage, and perhaps for the first time, Lara felt something like trust from him. Later, in the aftermath of the sabotage, Lara sat in the observation deck, looking at the stars and reflecting. The lines she had crossed were not just about disobedience. They were about choosing morality over orders, empathy over duty, and courage over fear. She had entered the alien world as a spy, but she was no longer an outsider. She had become part of something bigger, something dangerous yet vital. Her thoughts returned to the prince, to the subtle acts of kindness, the patience, the care. Lara realized that her feelings had grown beyond mere curiosity. She felt admiration, respect, and perhaps even something more, something forbidden by her mission. Yet she knew that these feelings gave her strength as well, guiding her actions in ways training could not. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the corridor, and Lara stiffened. Human operatives had not abandoned their plans. The threat was not gone. She prepared herself for confrontation, knowing that the choices she made in the next moments could determine the fate of the ship, the prince, and perhaps the entire galaxy. Lara's hand rested on the concealed device at her waist, her mind racing with strategies and contingencies. Every move mattered, every second counted. The lines between friend and enemy, love and duty, human and alien, had blurred completely, and she was forced to act in this new, uncertain space as she moved forward. Lara understood something crucial, that crossing lines was not a weakness but a form of courage. It was the willingness to make hard choices, to risk everything for what was right, and to embrace the uncertainty of her feelings and loyalties. She was no longer just a spy, a maid, or a human in disguise. She had become a force that could shape events far beyond her own expectations. And deep inside, Lara knew that tomorrow would demand even more, that the shadows she moved through now were only the beginning. The lines she had crossed were permanent, and they had set her on a path toward choices that would define not just her mission, but her heart and the fate of all she had sworn to protect. Lara stood at the edge of the observation deck, staring out at the endless stars, her mind heavy with the weight of impossible decisions. Every message from her command reminded her of the mission, to seduce or to kill, yet her heart refused to obey. She could no longer see the prince as a target, only as someone who had become unexpectedly important. Her thoughts returned to the sabotage she had stopped, to the lives she had saved, and to the small acts of kindness that the prince had shown. Lara realized that following her orders blindly could destroy everything she had come to care about. She clenched her fists, knowing she had to make a choice, and that choice could change the fate of many worlds. A sudden alarm echoed through the ship, and Lara's instincts kicked in. Human operatives had initiated a second plan, more dangerous than the first. They intended to force the prince into a war by manipulating the crew, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Lara's heart pounded. But she felt no fear, only determination. She moved quickly, navigating the corridor she had memorized. Each step precise, each decision calculated. She reached the control room just as two human operatives tried to override the ship's security systems. Lara acted without hesitation, disarming them with a swift and silent maneuver. Her skill was perfect, her training flawless, yet she acted out of protection, not orders. The prince arrived moments later, his eyes sharp, assessing the situation. He did not ask questions, only followed her lead, trusting her instincts. Lara realized that his trust was more valuable than any mission directive, and it strengthened her resolve. Together, they worked to secure the ship, shutting down the dangerous protocols and warning the crew. As the alarms faded, Lara faced the hardest decision of her life. Her human command expected a report confirming the prince's death or seduction, yet she could not comply. Her conscience would not allow it, and the prince's life and the safety of his people were more important than obedience. She felt the weight of her choice pressing down, yet clarity came with it. She reached for the communication device, her fingers hovering over the buttons. Lara hesitated, then deleted the messages. Cutting the link to her command, she refused to betray the aliens, refusing to become a weapon of destruction. A surge of fear mixed with exhilaration ran through her, but she knew she had done the right thing. The prince watched her quietly, a small smile forming on his lips. He had understood her choice without words, and his approval comforted her. Lara felt a warmth spread through her chest. The first genuine connection she had experienced in a long time. It was dangerous. It was forbidden. Yet it felt real and powerful. Later, she walked through the corridors, checking on the crew and the household. The aliens looked at her differently now, with respect and curiosity. Recognizing the courage she had shown, Lara realized that her actions had built bridges between worlds, that morality and empathy could triumph over orders and fear. But the choice was not without consequences. Human operatives would know she had defied them, and her past would become a shadow over her future. Lara felt a pang of anxiety, but the prince's presence beside her gave her strength. She knew that she was no longer just a spy. She was a protector, a partner, and a force for good. The small alien companion brushed against her legs as she walked, and she bent down to pet it, feeling a sense of calm and connection. Lara understood that even the smallest bonds could guide one through the darkest decisions, that love and loyalty were stronger than fear and duty. That night, Lara stood at the observation deck again, the stars shimmering like distant fires. Her mind replayed every choice, every act of courage, every line she had crossed. She realized that the hardest decisions often led to the greatest rewards, and that the path of integrity and compassion, though dangerous, was the one worth following. In the quiet of space, with the prince watching silently beside her, Lara made a silent promise. She would continue to protect the innocent, to choose empathy over orders, and to follow her heart even when the universe demanded obedience. The mission had changed, and so had she, choosing love, courage, and morality over simple commands. Lara embraced the future she had carved with her own hands. The ship was tense, the hum of engines louder than usual. Lara moved swiftly through the corridors, senses alert. Her decision had shifted the mission, and now consequences began to surface. Shadows lingered at every turn. Whispers hinted at secrets yet to be uncovered. It started with a small discovery. A hidden message in the prince's personal archives Lara read carefully, her eyes widening as she realized the depth of betrayal. Human operatives had planted false information, intending to manipulate her mission and force a war. The people she trusted as allies were not who they seemed, and the danger was closer than ever. She felt a surge of anger, yet her mind stayed sharp. Lara knew that exposing the traitors required precision, not rashness. One wrong move and she could lose not only herself but also the prince and the household she had grown to protect. Her heart pounded, but courage filled her every step. As she moved deeper into the ship, she caught sight of a familiar human agent, the one who had watched her since her arrival. Their eyes met briefly, and Lara knew that the final test had come. She confronted them silently, her hand resting on the concealed device at her waist. Ready to act, the agent smirked, underestimating her resolve. But Lara was no longer the obedient spy she had been. Every choice, every act of protection had changed her. She disabled their communications with a precise pulse, leaving the agent trapped in a secure chamber. Unable to alert others, the betrayal had been contained, but more remained hidden in the command center. Lara discovered further treachery. Several members of her own human command had infiltrated the ship, working with saboteurs to undermine the prince's authority. She moved quickly, neutralizing each threat silently, her training flawless. Yet her actions were not fueled by orders, they were fueled by loyalty to life, to the innocent, and to the unexpected love that had begun to grow in her heart. The prince appeared behind her. Calm but resolute, his presence grounded her, reminding her that even in chaos, trust and courage could prevail. Together, they coordinated the household, securing every corridor and control panel. The aliens responded with disciplined efficiency, guided by her instructions and the prince's calm authority. During the confrontation, Lara uncovered a shocking truth. The sabotage had been planned not only by humans, but by a few alien nobles who sought power. They had hoped to manipulate the prince into a war. Gaining control while the household weakened, Lara's mind raced, realizing that betrayal was not limited to one species or one side. It was universal, cunning, and dangerous. Despite the tension, Lara acted decisively, protecting the prince and the crew while exposing the traitors. The confrontation was tense, with alarms blaring and lights flickering, yet every move she made was precise. Each decision calculated. She used her skills, intelligence, and courage to turn the tables, saving lives and securing the ship. When the dust settled, the prince and Lara stood together, observing the defeated conspirators. Lara felt a sense of relief but also pride. Her actions had protected not only the aliens but the very mission she had been sent to corrupt. She realized that true power lay not in orders or manipulation, but in courage, empathy, and loyalty. The small alien companion appeared beside her, nuzzling her hand, a silent acknowledgement of her bravery. Lara smiled softly, feeling a connection stronger than any command or mission. She understood now that trust and love could be as powerful as any weapon, shaping outcomes in ways no plan could predict. Later, the prince spoke quietly, his eyes meeting hers. There was no accusation, only respect and understanding. Lara felt warmth in her chest, realizing that despite all betrayals, a bond had been formed. A bond built on shared courage, honesty, and the choice to protect rather than destroy. That night, Lara reflected on the events, the betrayals revealed, and the choices she had made. Every line she had crossed, every risk she had taken, had led to this moment. She had defied orders, protected the innocent, and faced danger without hesitation. Her heart was alive, and her sense of purpose had never been clearer. She knew the final part of her journey awaited, decisions that would determine not only her future, but the future of the prince, the household, and the galaxy itself. Lara made a silent vow to face whatever came next with courage, love, and unwavering loyalty. For she had learned that even in the shadows of betrayal, humanity and compassion could shine brighter than any weapon or command. The ship floated silently among the stars. Calm after the storm of betrayal and danger, Lara walked through the corridors, her steps steady, her mind clear. The missions, the orders, the choices she had made all had led to this moment. She felt a strange peace, but also anticipation. Knowing the final challenge awaited, the prince approached her quietly, his presence comforting yet powerful. He had seen every act of courage, every risk she had taken, and he understood without words. Lara felt her heart race, not with fear, but with connection. She realized that their bond had grown stronger than any command, stronger than the mission itself. The remaining conspirators had been neutralized. The ship was secure and the household could finally breathe. Lara observed the crew and aliens working together, restoring order. There was a sense of unity, a fragile harmony that she had helped to protect. Her actions had saved countless lives, and the weight of that responsibility filled her with quiet pride. A communication from her human command blinked on her device. Demanding answers, Lara ignored it, knowing the choice was hers alone. She would no longer be a pawn in someone else's game. She had chosen morality, courage, and love over orders, and there was no turning back. The prince led her to the observation deck, where the stars stretched infinitely before them. He spoke softly, acknowledging her bravery, her wisdom, and her heart. Lara felt tears prick her eyes, not from sadness but from relief and joy. For the first time, she felt truly seen, truly understood, and truly free. The small alien companion appeared beside her, nuzzling her hand, a gentle reminder of the bonds she had formed during this journey. Lara laughed softly, realizing that even the smallest connections could make the biggest difference. She had protected life, nurtured trust, and embraced her humanity, and that was her true victory. The prince reached out, taking her hand, his touch gentle yet reassuring. Lara felt a warmth she had never known, a trust that transcended species, orders, and expectations. In that moment, mission and duty faded, replaced by mutual respect, admiration, and something far more powerful, love. They walked together through the ship, greeting the crew and aliens. Lara noticed how different the household felt now, alive with hope, laughter, and relief. Her presence no longer caused suspicion or tension, but reassurance. She realized that by choosing empathy and courage over blind obedience, she had changed not only herself but the entire world around her. Later, in the privacy of the prince's quarters, Lara reflected on the journey. The choices, the lines crossed, and the betrayals revealed. Each moment of fear and risk had led her here, to a place where courage, morality, and love intertwined. She understood that the galaxy did not need spies or assassins to survive, but humans who were willing to act with compassion and integrity. The prince spoke again, softly, promising protection, partnership, and trust. Lara felt her heart swell, knowing that she was no longer alone in facing the challenges ahead. Together they would safeguard their people, strengthen bonds between worlds, and inspire courage in others. Their union was more than romance, it was a symbol, a testament to the power of humanity to choose compassion over violence, love over orders, and courage over fear. The ship drifted past distant planets, stars twinkling like tiny fires, and Lara allowed herself a moment of reflection. She had been sent to seduce or kill, yet she had chosen something far greater, something stronger. She had chosen to protect, to act with conscience, and to embrace love, even when it was dangerous. She glanced at the prince, seeing not a target, not a mission, but a partner, an ally, and a friend. Lara felt hope bloom in her heart, knowing that together they could face any challenge. The galaxy might still be full of dangers, betrayal, and uncertainty, but they would face it side by side, united in courage and trust. As the stars stretched endlessly around them, Lara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her journey and the freedom of her choice. Love had conquered the mission, humanity had triumphed over orders, and hope had risen from the shadows. She knew the path ahead would be difficult, but she also knew that together they could overcome anything. And for the first time in her life, Lara smiled fully, truly, and without fear, knowing that she had chosen her own destiny, and that destiny was filled with courage, compassion, and love.